Okay, YouTube, it's Saturday, March 10th. Show you what we're doing to the truck this weekend. Try to make a little video of it. Really, all we're doing this weekend is we're hoping to get the radiator support completely sandblasted and painted. I was out here a little this morning. Got nearly one entire side of it done. Actually, I did get one side of it done. There's that. Almost got this side done, and I decided I needed to stop, clean up, and go to Home Depot and get some more Lexan so I could make a new lens. Trying to talk and hook this little latch up here. Need to make a new lens for my sandblasting hood. It got to where I couldn't hardly see out of it. And while I was doing this, I'm trying to think, there's got to be a better way. If I'm going to be sandblasting stuff this large, I need to do something besides making a mess out of my garage and my storage shed here. There's a lot of stuff in here. It won't really hurt anything, but I don't really like having everything covered in sand. So I thought of an idea. I'm not going to do it this time around, but before I do any other large sandblasting projects, I'm going to try it. I think I'm going to kind of have me a temporary sandblasting room built out of I was thinking about getting one of those cheap pop-up tents and putting some plastic walls on it. That way I can take it down when I'm done. I think that would work pretty well and keep me from making a huge mess. Because we did do this truck frame, and as far as that's doing something like an entire frame, I don't know if that would be big enough, but that's something we could, if it's not a project that we're in a pinch to do, that's something we could pick a nice day for and do right out here in the outside, or build a big plastic tent, whatever it takes. But this is the last time I do any sandblasting that can't be done in my tank, in my shed, or my garage. We're going to have to come up with something better if I'm going to be doing more of this. But it'll be a while before I do that. So enough about that talking there. I guess what we need to do is sweep up all of our sand here and put it back in the tank. What I've done here is already 3 tankfuls on this pressure blaster. This thing goes through it quick, but it also removes it quick. I tried doing it with my siphon gun, and siphon gun just removes it so slowly compared to the tank. But the bad part about the tank is you have to do a lot of stopping and refilling it. I'm not sure which is quicker. Probably the tank, I don't know. But it's just really slow process of sandblasting something this large with a siphon gun. Anyway, enough of that. I'm going to go ahead and make me some new lenses for my sandblasting hood, like I mentioned. And try to get this sandblasted tonight, and hopefully I can clean up my mess and paint this thing tomorrow. That's not a promise on getting it painted tomorrow. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. I don't know how much. Okay, I'm going to pause the camera and get back to work. Okay, it's still Saturday night, about a little after 9. Finally got this thing done. That's pretty much what I set out to do, is get the whole thing sandblasted. It doesn't really sound like a lot for a whole day's work, but when you use that thing, let's see, I refilled it. Kind of lost track. I think 5 times. Last time I had to refill it, all I had left was from here up to about there. And all this was already done on the surface, just this side right here, right? That was all that was left. I had to stop, sweep all this up, and refill it. Of course, I had bought 3 bags of the blasting media. I opened up 2 of them and emptied them. Most of it is back in there. I used very little my last refill. Still got a lot to sweep up. But I think I'm finished for tonight. We'll see what the weather does to me tomorrow. I heard them mentioning rain. I didn't pay close attention to it. Right now it seems like actually it's a pretty nice clear night. I don't know how well we'll be able to see this. This looks very, very blurry on my screen. Let's see, there's North Star or Venus. get a close look at that. Oh, that's not going to work out very good. That looks pretty cool. It's kind of shaky. Anyway, I think we still got a full moon going, but I don't see it, so that tells me it's cloudy that way. See a few stars up there. Anyhow, I'm done for the night, and if I get to paint that tomorrow, that will be on this video too, and hopefully I can upload this thing Sunday night. Stay tuned. Alright YouTube, it's Sunday, March 12th. Just show you where I'm at on this radiator support. We got it out here and we have put 3 coats of the POR15 rust preventative paint on it. This paint here, if it was to cure completely, it looks glossy now, it would be kind of a flat black. Always use it as the first coat, and then I go back over it with the POR15 chassis black. But here's how it all turned out. I got a few runs. I put a really light tack coat on it, and the second coat I tried to cover it a little too quick. Plus the adjustment on my gun, this knob right here, it was putting out a little bit too much paint, and it kind of threw me off. Put out a little bit too much paint and it all looked fine. Then I came back 5 minutes later after I was done with that coat and seen some runs. I don't know how well you can see this, but it ran pretty bad up in like this column, which doesn't really matter because that's going to be hidden anyway. But it flowed out. It's still a little tacky, but it flowed out to where you almost can't see them. I don't know how well you'll be able to see us on video, but you know, being here in person, you can see it. Show you how the other side looked. And while I'm at it, it's another very pretty day. It's almost, I think it's around 70 right now. I got a little hot in my coveralls, wearing coveralls to protect my clothes from the paint. And a little hot. But I like it. Love warm weather. And I had some runs right about there. Looks like they flowed out real well. I mean, and again, for a radiator support, this is going to work out just fine. I think considering the shape this was in, and all I did was really make patch panels and weld it up and use no body filler. It's turning out pretty darn good for something that won't be that visible. I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera. If I can mount this camera in a good place, I'm going to try to show a little bit of painting. Not sure if that's a good idea, get overspray on the camera, but we'll try it anyway. Be right back. Okay, it's just the process of one coat. That was the chassis black. So you can see it doesn't take very long to apply each coat on something like this, but this paint dries very slowly, which is probably why it's such good paint. After it cures, it's pretty durable paint. But I just wanted to show that on here. Now I'm going to wait. Since it does dry slowly, I'm going to wait about 15-20 minutes for the next coat. Looks like I got enough in that gun for maybe for at least one more coat, maybe another, and that will be plenty because I've already put, I think, 3, really more like 2.5 of the rust preventative paint. It covered both sides with 2 coats, and then I got one side, a third coat on one side, and then ran out. Didn't want to mix any more up, so, and that should be plenty. Hopefully we don't get any more runs. Held my sprayer back a little bit better. I think I've got to adjust it a little bit better. Looks like it's going to flow out pretty decent. Those runs there are kind of visible, but not too bad. And really, actually, the first 2 coats have not set up yet, so they'll flow out a little more. Okay, we'll pause the camera again. Okay, YouTube, we ended up putting 3 coats of the chassis black on the radiator support, and I want to show you how I go about cleaning my gun out. Now on this POR 15 paint, I've read, I forgot where I read it, but some people claim that you shouldn't even bother to spray it because it will ruin the gun. So far I haven't had that trouble. This gun here, this is the 3rd time I've used it, and what I do is to clean it out, pretty much like any other paint, lacquer thinner will cut just about any paint that I know of. I fill it, and I've already filled that up in there, and I put the cap on it, swished it around, and what I'd end up doing is, see if I can do this with one hand. This video will be shaky, as all my others are. Okay, we've got that plugged in there, and I just, this is hard to do one hand. And I just run that lacquer thinner through there is what I do. Just take it outside, spray it through. This will take a little bit. Turn up the air pressure a little bit. Well, I can, I only got one hand free. And I refuse to stop the camera this time. Whatever. Okay, as you see, we're just running that lacquer thinner through there, cleaning everything out. And also what I'll do is, I will take the gun apart. I'll take the cup off, clean it out real good. Show you what else I take off of the front sprayer nozzle part. Alright, let me get this empty and I'll pause the camera and show you the rest of how I clean this gun. Okay, we've emptied the gun by spraying all the lacquer thinner I had in there through it. And here's what I usually clean all my paint guns with, no matter what paint I'm using. It's called economy thinner. It's a virgin lacquer thinner is all it is. I guess it can be used to reduce primers that are supposed to be mixed with lacquer thinner or lacquer paint, and it also will cut, like I said, just about any kind of automotive paint. So far it has for me. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and unscrew this gun. There's that. Let me get this crap out of my way. A lot of stuff in my way. Should have thought ahead before I made this video. Anyway, got some lacquer thinner which I put in this cup right here. Got me a paper towel. Don't have any oil on it. I've been using it to clean the other parts of the gun, outside of it. I'll just go ahead and wipe the cup out. Like that. Get all the paint you can. You're not going to get it all. There's going to be a little bit of black in the corners and stuff. That'll be fine. We'll take a dry towel. Always use clean paper towels. They haven't been used on anything else. Just dry that out. Clean these threads up too. That right there. Put that back in the case. I even clean the lid too. best I can, because this paint now, you don't want to put your lid back on your gun while this paint is still tacky, because it will set up like some kind of super glue, and we'll wait till after it dries before you ever put that cap back on, because it will stick on there and stick tight. Something I learned whenever you open a can. That's why I order the small cans. Whenever you open a can and if you don't use it all and try to reuse it a couple weeks later, you can't hardly get the can open. Last time I did that, which is the first time I used the paint, pretty much destroyed the can. But it's not as bad as they say. You can clean it as long as you get to it before it sets up hard. And it doesn't destroy a gun. I wouldn't recommend using it on a good expensive gun that you use for actually shooting your base coat, clear coat, stuff like that. But for a cheap gun kit I got like this that was just for like chassis parts and engine parts and stuff like that, you can do it. Now the other part that I do, go ahead and wipe that out. I go ahead, I hope I can see this on the video, take this off. And what I do is I'm going to drop it in that can and I'll just let it soak for a day or two. A few hours will be fine, but it's just, you can pretty much let it soak for as long as you feel like whenever you get around to doing it. And you got this piece, which I'm going to have to stick in the vise to get loose. Goes. Don't know how far away that looks on video right now, so I'll try to get a little closer. It's just this piece right here. It pops out. You see all that paint on there. Just drop that in there. And where I got this apart, I'll go ahead and flush that out really well. Try to get some lacquer thinner down in there. There's a lot of excess paint in here, and it's not from spraying. Like a dummy, when I first filled the gun up with paint, I still had all this stuff off and soaking down in there from the last time I used it. When I filled the cup up with paint, paint just started pouring out of there, and that's why it's so dirty up in there. But we can go ahead and do that. Actually, it wouldn't hurt if I had something big enough to dip it all out. But what I'm going to do is pour a little bit down in there. Just kind of get it in there. Hook up my air gun, air nozzle, wherever it went, air hose. Spray that out. I'm going to get a little more in there. There we go. And I think that'll do it. But like I said, you can spray this paint with a spray gun, but you got to clean your gun good right after you use it, or it will ruin the gun if you let it dry. But that pretty much goes for any paint. Okay, I'm going to pause the camera and get that radiator support in here and hang it up before it starts raining. It's supposed to rain tonight. And that'll be all this video. Hang on, be right back. Okay, this is the last part of this video. Got this thing in here hanging up. Just thought I'd show you the finished product. I don't think it turned out too bad. Actually got a lot of time in this thing, I guess, if you think about the time I spent welding and sandblasting it and all that, painting it. One thing, I need to go back and look at this video to be sure about this, but if you remember when I shot the first two coats, I said that it was the rust preventative paint, which you can see it says right there, and then you got other cans that are, you can see it says chassis coat black. And if you remember, I said it when I shot the rust preventative, I said it looks real glossy now, but when it dries it'll kind of fade to a flat light color, which is true, it does do that. But I noticed it stayed glossy even after it got tacky. And when I opened up the can of chassis coat black, sprayed it, and I think I showed it after a coat or two, and it was kind of dull, just like the rust preventative paint would be. And I double checked myself. I made sure that I didn't get the cans mixed up and open the wrong cans, and I didn't. And it looks to me like this kit I bought, which is, it's the 6-pack as they call it, got 6 4-ounce cans. 3 of them are chassis coat black, and 3 of them are the rust preventative paint that I use as a type of primer or base coat. It looks like they had the wrong paint in the wrong cans. I mean, like I said, I double checked myself to make sure, and I did not open the wrong can. Actually, I thought it looked, even before I opened the chassis coat black, I double checked myself by checking the cans that I had opened, because it just looked so glossy. And so, since it looked a little duller than I wanted to, I mean, it would have been fine for radiator support, I went back over it with the Rust-Oleum gloss black engine paint. It's pretty good stuff. We got the good paint under it, so it doesn't matter. But, so I had to cheat a little bit. No big deal. I think it turned out pretty good. Got a little dirt in it. Not bad since we painted outside. A little orange peel, but, you know, made a few mistakes, but I'm a little rusty on my painting. I haven't shot a lot of cars, painted a lot of cars, but I did paint this truck back in year 2000, or 2002, I believe it was. I painted the 68 Torino, oh crap, 15 years ago. I painted my 64 Fairlane in 92. I had a 69 F100 I painted. That was my first paint job. It didn't turn out bad, but I'm a little rusty on my painting, and I learned a few things while I painted this. Like I told you, I got some runs on my first coat right after the tack coat. Should have put a second tack coat. Had my gun adjusted wrong. I need to learn to remember doing stuff like that. But like I said, I'm rusty on it, and painting parts like this is good practice. You try to do the best you can, but if you don't do a perfect job, it doesn't matter, because there's going to be a bunch of stuff covering up, bolted on top of it. But that's about it for the video for this weekend. I think I'm kind of happy with what I got done. The sandblasting took longer than I thought. It was a little harder than I thought, but we got through it. Got it done. That's what I expect to do this weekend. Get this thing sandblasted and painted. One thing I did notice, I forgot these pieces bolt onto the back of that. This is one of them. To the back of that radiator support. I still need sandblast and paint those. That's really not that big of a deal. Won't take that long to do. Hopefully I'll take care of that through the week. And after that, we need to get back to finishing up a little cleanup on this part of it. Get the tops of those rusty frame rails painted. Like I told you in an earlier video, 2 or 3 years ago I rebuilt the suspension on this truck, and while I had it all completely off, I sandblasted all the parts I had off, and the part of the frame rails I couldn't get to. The truck was all together when I did that, so that's why I couldn't get up here. Those inner fender wells are covering all that, but we'll go ahead and finish that up. It won't be a perfect detail job. The only way to do it right is to pull that engine out, and I'm not going to do that. I'm ready to get this thing running so I can pull it in and out and start doing my body work, what little it needs, and get this thing back together and looking good so I can pull that trailer down track and go racing. I miss my racing. I haven't raced since October of 2010. So that's that. I guess I'll pull the tractor in, call it a day. Thanks for watching.